From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicki Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Scripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Captain's Log Supplemental.
Miss Vicki.
Yes, sir.
You know what?
What?
I've been thinking about this Sentinel system.
Yeah. Tell me about the Sentinel system.
So what I was thinking was, we have the one car that's got the aim dash that's slowing us down. Because installing the aim dash is actually, it probably is easy, but it's quite hard the first time. And we haven't figured that out yet. The Sentinel system is really easy to set up. So what I was thinking was, why don't we put it in the Lemons car? And we'll worry about the aim data information separately. And we'll kind of break it down into a project. Because then we'd have the motorsports video system that we really, really want, and we'd be able to stream it. We just won't have the data inside, but we have the data outside, so we can combine them later. But I think that's a really good solution.
So what does this Sentinel system do?
Well, if it had the aim data, it would have all the data on the screen, and you could see all their telemetry and everything live. But we'd be able to not only record it for viewing after the race, but we could actually watch our car during the race.
Ooh, like on the monitor and everything?
On a monitor, if you were at home and I was at a track, or if you were at the track and I was at home, depends on who gets the little short straw, but we'd be able to watch each other.
It's something I've always wanted to do.
And you know what? If you're driving, you know what you can do on the Sentinel system?
What's that?
You can communicate to me with your hands, and I can't do a thing about it.
Even better.
So, if you need to give a wave or a Jersey wave, whatever you need, we could save it and see it on the screen. And then you can have up to 3 different cameras, and it'll have picture in picture. You'll have the basic main shot out the front window, and then 2 cameras where you put them wherever you want. One could be on the driver, or one could be on the rear view. It's kind of cool.
Then we can upload it onto YouTube.
We could bore millions of people on YouTube.
I love it.
All right. Very well. You know what the only downside I see about this?
What?
Your mom and my mom are going to be panic-stricken the entire weekend watching this thing to see if everything's going well.
This is true.
We probably shouldn't tell them.
I like the idea of having a Sentinel.
Mm-hmm. Well, luckily we have maybe 2. Depends on how things go. We're going to try. All right. That sounds like a plan. That's the project. We got to get that ready for the next race.
Sounds great.
All right. Very well. Thank you, ma'am. Ben Dawson, we've got somebody with us tonight.
Oh man, I'm excited about this guy.
No.
Who is it?
According to the Zoom, it says it's Jeremy's iPhone. So Jeremy's iPhone, welcome to the podcast.
Jeremy's iPhone is here.
That matches what it says on his ankle bracelet that he has to wear. He's mandated to wear by the court. Also says that. So
it does say that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, after the episode we put out tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
Yes. Okay.
I cannot believe Vicki left you guys unattended for that.
I know. It was fine. It was a descending slope. The first one was okay. The second one was a little questionable. The third one was completely off the rail.
I mean, that's how it is.
I know. She chooses to do other things besides this. This is what happens.
You get what you get.
I was left unattended. Anyway, so in an effort to keep our discussion lively, and in an effort to potentially upset almost all of our listeners, I thought it would be so much fun to answer the question that we have been asked more times than I care to admit. Gentlemen, What is the best track car?
That's a great question, and I think that since I know the least about cars among the people speaking here, I know how to race them, but I don't know that much about them. My dad and my brother are the know things about car guys in my family. I think it's only fitting that I take the lead and run this little discussion and let you guys rattle on. What do you think about that?
Wow, Ben Dawson turning the tables.
Oh
yeah,
man,
I like to be authoritative sounding.
This is what you get to do, Jeremy. When you're so good, you have an entire podcast named after yourself. You get to pull rank and say,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So
I like
when
it.
When we all agree that it's a Miata, what makes it the best? Let's start with that, folks. What do you think? No, seriously, I don't really have a good evolved opinion about this because usually my favorite car is the one somebody's let me drive on track at that moment. So I don't have a huge strong opinion. I'd love to hear what you think, Jeremy.
Well, and that, it's funny you say that because that is typically everyone's answer that has experience on track is, it's whatever car I'm driving this weekend. That's my favorite track car. But this topic, and that's why it's, it's kind of opinionated, really.
What? Sure.
What? On the internet?
Yes. Believe it or not, it's a very good opinion. It depends on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish in my opinion. If you are getting into the game of, I want to start learning how to drive on track, things like that, I would recommend everyone that's learning how to drive, go buy a Miata.
That's what I did. That was the answer I got when I sort of went and asked that question a million years ago before I got my Miata. And it was sort of like, hey, if you want to get challenged, go get a Miata. And that's what I did. And it served me really well, I think.
Or a go-kart. That's the other one people say.
Well, I started with a go-kart, went to a Miata, so I feel like I'm on track pretty good.
and look what it got you, Ben.
I'm happy.
You get paid so much to be on a podcast. You know what, Ben? Since this is 2023, you know what I'm going to do?
Oh yeah. What are you going to do, Bill?
Double.
Great.
He's doubling our salary, Ben.
That's right.
Yeah,
Double.
that's awesome.
That's
well,
right.
Fair enough. I'll stay for the rest of this one then.
All right, very well. Money gets you everywhere, people.
Jeremy, what do you think about a Miata makes it so appealing for newer people taking something to the track?
So it's a great track car. They handle well. They're very reliable.
They are.
You can modify them as you start to get better.
Yeah, definitely.
They're very forgiving. So it gives you a great baseline to learn how to drive, learn everything about being on a racetrack. And then once you can drive a Miata fast, you can pretty much drive anything fast.
Low cost.
I agree with all that. It's interesting. You hit on so many of the great points about Miatas. That didn't leave me much to say except to agree. But my friend Hans, we raced BMWs together for years and years, and I don't think he ever drove the Miata. But one time, I think he checked the oil in the Miata of the track or something. And after years and years of sending off BMW oil samples to Blackstone to get it analyzed, I don't know how long this oil had been in the Miata, but he pulls it out. It's like, is this thing an oil cleaner? Because it looked the same as it went in. So I always had great reliability with my car. And you're right, they're forgiving because they're not covered up with power. You might be putting, if you bring a Miata in off the street without doing anything, you might be putting 100 horsepower down to the ground. A legal one, once it's been all worked up for national spec Miata racing, might be putting down 122 to the wheels, or the 120, something like that. But believe it or not, like once you get good at driving a Miata, I think you're right. I mean, once you get good at driving a Miata, even with that little power, you can still be driving a Miata at a frenzied pace and just driving your ass off, and looking like you're pretty busy. So
exactly.
It's a lot of car for relatively low cost. I mean, you can start out with a Miata that costs you a few grand, take it out to your first track event on street tires, just put good brake juice in, and look like a superstar. Then you go get your alignment done. Because also another great thing about Miata is it's like my first race car because it's got all the alignment stuff that you want, all that stuff that you want to have, be able to adjust is built in, so you don't have to do camber plates right away. There's a lot of stuff that you can adjust. I mean, you do a caster and you can get a little bit of camber and definitely do your toe, right? Am I saying all that stuff right? Isn't that right?
Absolutely.
Yep. A lot of that stuff doesn't show up adjustable on many other cars. So that's another great thing about a Miata, if you're fast tracking into, I want to do this one time, to whoa, how do I get faster? You can take it to an alignment shop, and boom, it's like a whole new car. So as you evolve with the Miata, and eventually you'll get a cage in that Miata, and suddenly it becomes a lot stiffer. And usually that meets your needs right about that time for a little bit faster car that you can go a little bit, a little bit harder. And so, yeah, I mean, I love growing up with a Miata. Also, it's kind of an easy button because rear wheel drive is something that's pretty common to a lot of stuff out of the track. A lot of your instructors will understand a rear wheel drive platform better as they're teaching you to go faster. But, I think almost everybody goes to the track's got a little bit of a soft spot in their heart for rear wheel drive, even if that's not what they're doing at the moment. Would you guys agree?
Yep. I would definitely agree.
Even though you drive Volkswagens, Jeremy?
Even though I drive front wheel drive Volkswagens and rear wheel drive BMWs.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is an opinionated topic. And that was my answer for someone just getting into the game.
For sure. Yeah. And I think also it's important to point out, you can quickly get yourself into way overbuilding a Miata. If you end up throwing way too much power at it, I think you'll have a Miata frame's kind of, the whole chassis of a Miata is only going to take so much power too. So you're going to, it's not like you're going to build some sort of crazy giant killer Miata unless you're Johnny from 9 Lives and you've been working on it for years and years. It's like he built a Miata. He did a 125 at Road Atlanta, but nobody else is going to build a Miata that's going to do that kind of time at Road Atlanta. It's insane.
No.
I don't want to do a 125 at Road Atlanta.
I do.
I know.
Right here, me. I'll give it a shot.
Now.
Let's go.
I'll tell you. Let's do it.
Man, that's scary.
That's fast. That's very fast.
It is. For those playing home game, that is a big boy track, and that is a big boy time.
Yes, that's a very big boy time, especially in a Miata.
I know.
Yeah, for reference, I think I drove an S10, like an 80s S10 around there. I think our best lap time was like a 150 or something. So that's a lot faster.
A lot faster.
Yeah.
So I haven't heard much from you about this. I think we've pined and talked about how great the Miata is. Everybody should go check that out. If this is where you get off, jump out and get you a Miata. What do you think, Bill? Do you also think a Miata is right up there, or would you do something else? You've got a lot of cars.
Yeah, we got a few cars. So I don't think the correct answer is a specific car.
Nah, probably not.
Because it depends on what you want from the car and what you want from your driving.
What about what about rules though? Also, like, are you
rules?
Like,
yeah.
To me, I jumped into a Miata because I also saw a growing spec Miata class and kind of assumed I would eventually end up trying to race spec Miata. So I kind of wanted to get a car that could eventually build to a rule set. So that was at least forefront in my mind when I was picking my first track car too.
Well, if you're lucky enough to be, I would use the word advanced enough to know what you want to do long term, then you might want to do that. If you're not, there's lots of benefits to getting a car that is somewhat standard, and standard is often in quotes when you're talking about racing, because then you can measure yourself against someone else, as opposed to if you have a unicorn, you don't know if you're doing really well or really poorly because nobody else has one out there. You don't know that, am I breaking the world record in this car, or am I just tooling around like, what was that? The Driving Miss Daisy movie from so long ago.
Yeah.
So you got to think about it. And really.
So he's basically talking about a Miata.
Yeah, well, could be. Well, I mean, what do you want to do in the beginning? Most of the people, and I'm not insulting them in any way or not trying to, you have no idea what you want or what you like. So I would want them to try something that's relatively cheap, relatively low cost to run, and more worried about the driver than the car in the beginning.
Ooh. Let me tell you a story about knowing what you want and then getting what you get. We talked about my focus plans for running right up the ladder and spec Miata. And so I needed what I wanted was a track car that I could track every now and then, but also was my daily. I was like, I can live with a Miata. That's fine. And like, I immediately put 6-point belts and like an aluminum racing seat in it. And that's how I drove that car 99% of the time I owned it. And for a lot of that time, it was like several years of my daily. Like, I was broke in my 20s, just spending all my money on going to the track and doing dumb stuff. So I wanted a car that could easily be a daily for doing all the stuff I needed, and also a great track car. for me, I should have picked an E30 because those things are positively cavernous compared to a Miata, and I wouldn't have spent so much time upside down inside a Miata trying to do crap in the pedals and stuff. I was also a big guy, so and also there was a pretty active spec E30 class raging around me at the same time as spec Miata. I didn't know anything about BMWs, and for some reason I guess I kind of did most of my early racing stuff kind of helping out a guy who had a Mazda, so I just kind of got focused on the Mazda stuff and noticed that before I noticed kind of the equally prominent or more prominent BMW racing community. So let me just say, when you're picking the perfect track car, even though I picked one that ended up being great for me and I loved it and had it for like 13 years, it wasn't the exact thing I needed at that time in my broke ass life. And I needed to have something with a little bit of trunk space, and without having down tubes sticking through it and shit like that. So yeah, there's a lot of things to think about. And for me, picking like an E30 or an E36 BMW would have been an equally probably smart choice, and probably even smarter. I even went and got an E30 at one point thinking I was going to swap over and do that, but then the one I got wasn't good enough, and I was like, this Miata, I got too much in it, so I just got rid of the E30 and kept banging my head against the wall with the Miata. So, so you're right. Yep. There's a lot of considerations. Like for me, I didn't really match up the thing I needed with what I got.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Jeremy and I were talking about this question before you popped on, and I made the joke to Jeremy. I'm like, Jeremy, when you ask somebody at the track what the best car is to get, what are they going to answer? And the one
they're driving. It's exactly what you said in the beginning. It's the one they're driving that day.
Exactly.
I hope so. Especially even if it's a noob at the track, if they and they're out there with their 97 Dodge Neon that they've done a ton of work to and all the stuff you never even would have known you could have done to a Neon. And they're like, yeah, this Neon, man, I'm so ready for this. Hopefully.
Yeah.
And if it's your daily driver and your buddy talked to you and going out there and you're so excited and you're out there and the dead ass stock daily driver, I hope they're excited about that too. It's all cool to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
go ahead, Jeremy.
I will say that there is another car, especially right now with the prices of them, is the E46 BMW.
You're right. If we're just kind of spitballing and throwing real realistic choices out there, the E46 is kind of coming into its own in the market, and there's a ton of them out there.
And all three of us have one.
Yeah, that's true. I don't really want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
I still have 3. I had 4, but I have 3 now.
Oh wow.
I have 2.5, I think, right?
Yeah, you have 2.5.
Yeah, 2 in a roller, just in case something goes poorly. It's pretty sad that our roller looks better than both Jeremy and mine's primary, but that's a different story. I got this roller for nothing, and it is just so pretty.
It's so clean.
Scary. What do you guys think about building a car? Do you want to build a car for a division or around the rules, or do you want to build a car?
Yes, I do.
So you would want to take it, like, let's talk more the intermediate to advanced type driver,
right?
Not somebody who's getting paid and doesn't have any choice in what their car is, because it's the guy who's writing the check who's paying them that's going to choose what their car is. But
yeah, nobody listening is in that situation. So let's talk about real people in the real world.
And if you want to put us in that situation, it's GarageHeroesInTraining at gmail.com /Ben Dawson Jeremy Hall, or no, there's no Bill Fisher. I'm not even going to be close.
Send a pigeon by my house. It has to be so laden down with money it can barely fly, and I'll send you my address. Just I'll let you know.
Yep. Exactly.
What about to the rules?
Yeah, I came in here popping off about how I got my Miata with the mindset of eventually racing spec Miata, and that's not what happened. But I was definitely gearing my initial track car purchase toward a class. But I mean, I'd also just come out of kart racing where everything was weight class. I raced, me and my car had to weigh 350 pounds. We had to run this restricted, whatever it was. Like everything was rigorously classed in go-kart races. So I was already of a mindset of being like, I'm doing this, and this to fit this class because I want to, race for this reason and that reason. So I was already pretty class conscious from a racing perspective. So I just took that approach to buy a track car. I'm sure that I would be in the minority. I mean, I think most people that are just trying to get out there for their first time are not necessarily thinking like, what rule set will this fit? Unless they've kind of been to the track with their buddies or something like that and seen a class that really appealed to them. But yeah, I mean, even the current car that's sitting in my garage that I'm slowly taking away at building, I got it to build a spec E46 car, which I knew would be a good class to build for that could be competitive with I think T3 or T1 and SECA, we can race as a spec E46 in NASA and BMW Club, which are both pretty well subscribed classes. I know there's a lot of good competition for those, so that's why I'm building the car that I'm slowly building right now.
Yes, Jeremy.
Same thing. I mean, if you have a car, you know, with the intermediate and advanced drivers, right? You've got your car. Now you want to go to the next level. You need to look around, do some research, see where you want to be, what you want to build to, and see if that car you have is going to be able to be built to whatever class you want to go into racing. And then if it is like that E46 or the Miata, right? There's just so many different things that you can race with those cars. So it does make it very easy to transfer that, you know, starting car into a certain class or classes that you can race that car in. So it does make it a lot easier.
I think it's probably a good idea if somebody's pretty serious about getting a track car that they hope to track and eventually evolve into competition with. To, you know, one of the first big steps is I would go to my local closest track, maybe a NASA weekend, an SCCA weekend, if you're headed toward endurance racing, maybe go watch one of the best endurance races that comes close to you. Go watch them and kind of see what people are driving the most of. Things that are the most common or a safe choice. Or if you go to a club race, and, you know, if you think that spec neon is a really cool class, like, oh yeah, there's a rule set for this, and NASA has a rule set for this, so bam, I'm just going to build one. And you build this cherry ass spec neon or whatever, and then you take it to your local track, and there's nobody racing that class. You know, they had a spec focus class, NASA at some point, maybe they still do, you know, for Ford Focuses. And it was pretty big in Ohio, but I was like, oh, that might be a cool car to build. So I went and looked at the results from my area, and there was 0 people racing a spec Focus. So it's important to kind of get a grasp on places where you might want to take that car to compete and who's competing with that car and that rule set. You may have something that sounds totally amazing to you, and then you go look around like, oh, nobody's doing that near me. So I wouldn't really have a bunch of fun people to get on track with. So, you know, it was never my ultimate dream to race a Miata. I kind of grew up thinking they were goofy and weird, but when I found out that was kind of where a lot of the meat of competition I could do, you know, it was like a Swiss Army knife of racing. Mm-hmm. Man, I set land speed records in that car. You know, like I did everything with that car. So, you know, once I realized how much potential it had for running and fun, I didn't even worry about it being not an ideal car. So I think that's a big consideration, is not just looking for a rule set that sounds cool to you and to a cool car, but I also want to know what's active around me.
Right.
Yep. That's a great point.
It's no fun racing by yourself.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's plenty of people who are happy to be the one of 2 guys racing GTS4 at your local NASA event. You know, and they're out there with a big run group with, you know, a bunch of other cars. They're out there in the Thunder class, running by people and getting in the way of the big classes or whatever. But they're having fun. But to me, that's just never going to be fun. Like, I don't want to be the one guy in my class who showed up to take the trophy at BMW Club or whatever. I want to be the biggest pack I could find.
And that's exactly it. If you want to just get a trophy every weekend, then go to your local track and see what nobody's racing, and then build that car.
You know,
I built an STU car or whatever. I don't know.
It's cheaper if you just go to the trophy store and buy your own trophy. But that's just
that's true.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's trophies. A lot of times, like, it's just a piece of wood with like a little flag and a little medal on it.
Mm-hmm. There is a class-winning car for a certain race that's available for sale right now, and I happen to know that car was in the class of 1.
Hmm?
But the class, the entire entry list consisted of 1. So, you know, they won the national event, you know, national winning car that they're being able to sell. And it beat technically nobody.
Numero uno of uno.
1 of 1. So, yeah. The downside of this, like, let's look at the cash flow. You need to be able to afford this car. You need to be able to afford racing this car and not challenging yourself, and still have room for cash to race the car and not just fix the car. And then on the downside, if things go poorly, you need to be able to walk away from the car, because a race car will eventually go away.
Well, yes. To that, I'm going to be the one that says it. To that, Bill, if you can't afford to replace the car or throw the car away, don't ever put it on a racetrack.
Yeah.
I'll be that guy that says it. I'll be that guy that
for
says
sure.
it.
I'll say it too, and it sucks. But yeah, I'm always saying some kind of crass sounding thing. Like if you can't afford to just shove it into a hole and pee all over it and walk away from it, you shouldn't be at the track with it. And it sucks to have to say it, but you got to be reconciled with that. You got to be prepared to go home with an empty trailer or call your wife. Like that was my deal with the Miata. When I was daily driving that Miata and tracking it, I'm always like, yeah, I could probably break into 2.5 into turn 1 at PR. Then like, but also I can hear the conversation on the phone with me going, hey, babe, can you come up here and get me? Like, oh, yeah, I just totaled the car that I drive to work every day. But I was dumb enough to be tracking my daily. So I'm like, well, I'm going to break into 3 and make sure I get into this turn. You can't control everything, but you can control a lot of stuff. And yet, if you're kind of treading that thin line, you can kind of control how reckless you want to be. But ultimately, I was fully ready to just be like, well, I don't have that Miata anymore and figure out the next thing if I had to.
Right. That's crazy. That's why like my track car, that the track rat that we use is again another BMW E46, but I don't drive it to the track. I can, but I don't drive it to the track. I trailer it just in case, because you never ever know. And let me rephrase what I said, because it's not about affording to be able to lose it, but it's if you can't just let it die, then don't do it. Right. If afford is a tough word for that situation. Right.
But right. If life can't go on without it, then it's a big risk. Like for me, I would have gotten wheels under me somehow pretty quick. But yeah, I was definitely treading the bad side of that situation. But also I was in my 20s and broke as shit. Like I went broke racing cars. I was so expensive. So I didn't start building up any money till I started tracking. But I didn't have much money. I was young and broke, but I wanted to be at the track, so I just didn't do stuff that was going to put me off, and I just prayed I never, popped a brake line or had any real bad mechanicals happen to me.
Right.
But I was also in a Miata, so I didn't have to worry about it that much. They're very reliable.
They are, but I find that if I'm in a car, I'm actually a pretty conservative driver, even if I'm in my own car. But if I'm in somebody else's car, I really tone it down a little bit.
Even more conservative.
I don't want to drive. I don't want to buy a broken car. Why would I do that?
Nope.
So I'm not. If you're looking for an arrive and drive to dominate the series, probably should look somewhere else besides me.
I'll come do it. I'll do it.
Ben's all in.
Ben's all in.
Ben will do it, and he'll promise you a full year of his salary from dominating with Dawson.
That's right.
That's a big salary now.
It
just doubled it.
Oh, that's right. I doubled it. Would it be a whole year now, or is it down to 6 months, Ben? What are you thinking?
Oh man, I could probably still offer the whole year if the ride is right.
Yeah, that's true. It's got to be good though. Got to be good. GarageHeroesInTraining at gmail.com. Hey, you know what we didn't cover?
What's that? It
should really be a car you like.
Yeah, I saw that when I was hoping we were going to still get to that. I'll tell you, I'm a cheap date, but I mean, relatively lightweight and rear wheel drive is all I need. I don't care how much power or whatever. It's fine.
Okay. What about a front wheel drive car?
I'll race it if somebody really wants me to, but I'm not going to build one.
Okay.
Oh, they're so much fun though.
They're fun, but it's just not my thing. I'm not going to do it. I mean, also, I don't like rubbing peanut butter all over my ass. It's just not my deal.
Well, we'd like to welcome in a special guest who says Ben is not speaking truthfully.
Turns out that kind of thing is my bag, baby.
I was just going to say, that's oddly specific for you to say you don't like something.
Only thing missing was a brand on that peanut butter. That's all I'm saying. Way too specific.
Oh, well, it's Jeff all the way here, guys.
Jeff, all right. I was gonna ask if it was crunchy or smooth, but I'll just pass.
Wait, I think it's pronounced GIF.
Whatever.
All
right, Vicky, you left us alone. That's all I'm saying. All right, we'll beat this one up another time, gentlemen.
I think there's more to talk about. Hopefully people will. This is one of, if we've ever had one that might get people talking to us, it's probably us mouthing off about what the best track car is. So hopefully we will get some feedback, and I'd love to hear what what listeners think about this, and hopefully they've got some feedback that'll send us back to talking about this same topic again, because I'm dumb. I'd like to learn more.
I know.
Yeah.
We might be missing the perfect car. We just don't
I mean,
know.
there's really, honestly, there's so much to talk about on this topic. We could spend all day talking about it. So,
But
yeah,
instead, we're talking about peanut butter.
We should have an FRS BRZ expert come on and tell us why we're all wrong. Because I've never even been in one of those cars before, but I'm dying to drive one.
they're great.
We
They
have
are great.
one, Ben.
That's right. You guys do have one. That's right.
It's the first
they're
gen,
great.
not the second gen. The second gen I hear is spectacular.
I didn't even know there was 2 generations. I got
There
to
is.
catch up on this too. So maybe I don't know everything.
That's all right.
Oh no, they're good cars. They're good cars.
That's all
And if you want to spend a little bit more money,
Mhm.
buy a Cayman GT4.
RS.
It's like a
Jesus.
it's like a giant Miata with a boatload of power.
Hey, I guarantee you, whenever I do get the Specky 46 built, I'm going to put some other road car tags on and be driving it to the track too on our comms. So I'm not even in the world. I can't even spell whatever you just said about the GT4.
It's all right. We'll keep you. All right, gentlemen. We have started the festivities. The internet will be ablaze shortly.
Yeah, I'm not ashamed of anything I said here today.
I'm not either.
That's because we don't listen to ourselves, Ben. That's the problem.
It took me so long to start listening because I was too scared to hear it.
How many times have you listen to the podcast and go, I didn't say that? Who was that?
Yeah. That's so dumb. Why would I say that? I say it to myself all the time.
What was I thinking?
Yeah. Bill talked me into it.
That's right.
Yeah, he usually does that. He's good at that.
He does that. He does that.
I'm an enabler. I can't help it.
I like to think of it as being empowered.
Exactly.
Thank you.
I give you all the power, Ben. All right, guys. That's one down.
There we go. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All righty. Well, Jeremy,
Hey,
do you want
Ben.
to do the one?
Oh, hey, what do we got there? Is that the E46?
Yeah, have you seen that yet?
Not every bit of it. You really got that thing torn down.
Show
Oh,
him
yeah.
the footwell.
Well,
Show
it
him the
was-
footwell.
It was full on. Everything was ripped out. I painted it, or had it sandblasted. I primed it, painted it. It's got a lot of crazy.
Footwell.
We're getting there, Bill. Calm down. I'm enjoying this tour right now. Just taking it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I
Hold on.
like nice looking cage.
It's
Cage
it's
tied all the way
unbelievable.
to that cage runs all the way through the engine, huh? Up to the
Yes.
engine.
Yeah, right out
That's-
through footwell.
Yeah.
Footwell's down there, and then up through into the engine.
Is this built to any rule set?
No,
no reason.
it's
Safety
just
first, baby.
Yeah, safety first.
It's the same mine is.
Yeah.
My cage builder's like, you're only allowed to have 6 points or 8 points. And I'm like, build it so a tank could hit it.
Yeah, that's what. So this roll cage was done by Roll Cage Components, Jim Whitley,
Oh, yeah,
down in
that's the guy
Virginia.
that's eventually going to do mine for sure.
He did
Same
my
guy.
Civic cage, only we changed the door bars.
Yep.
That's
So-
awesome. That's awesome. I'm glad to see another good example of his work because he's definitely going to be getting my car to do it.
Jim does some unbelievable work. I mean, that's the roof.
How much room do you have there for your helmet?
A lot.
Good.
All of
Okay.
it.
All of it.
I think it's
Look at
high
that.
and tight.
Look at that footwell.
Wow. That's fancy.
Friend of
That's-
mine makes these carbon fiber.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
It needs a heel stop on it though.
It does. It's all the wires in the way, but it's got a footwell right here
Mm-hmm.
to put your resting foot, and then I don't know. I don't think it needs anything else. It does need a brake pedal though.
Brake pedal would be
Sure.
helpful. I mean, unless you're
Although-
getting really good at driving, then you
Well,
can
and
skip it.
that was the other thing I was thinking that maybe Ben can just drive it with no brake pedal.
It won't be the first time he's driven a car without a brake
I was
pedal.
just gonna say he likes to just not drive. You know, he.
Can I just keep it flat out and just jump that part? Is that okay?
You may as well.
I saw like a hill climb video, some kind of open wheel hill climb car, and if it wasn't for seeing the thing start at relatively normal rate and seeing the flagger's hand move normally, you would have thought it was sped up like double. It was crazy. It was like just it looks unnatural. Really? It's crazy. I obviously am too dumb to have kept it, but I saw it go by. I was like, wow, that's crazy.
That's not
so. What have we any topics?
Well, Jeremy and I were talking about one, and the three of us would have a good time.
I'm in a good
one?
time. Don't threaten me with a good time.
Number 10.
Oh, I thought you were going to do number 10 with more people.
Well, Vicky's idea of a car is, she knows the one she has, and Jennifer's idea of a car is by color. So they're not really going to add.
Oh, yeah.
So
what is the best track car?
Yes.
Yeah. Ask me, the guy who doesn't know about cars. I'll jump around. I'll give you my best opinions. all I know how to do is race them. Let's talk. Let's do that one. That sounds fun.
All right. Very well.
I'm glad to have an extra person with an extra smart person on here.
That's why we saved it. We needed some Jeremy time.
All right.
Very well.